There are places in this world where the veil between our reality and the unknown grows dangerously thin. One such place lies deep within the remote Blackridge Woods, a forest steeped in mystery and fear. This is the story of Martin Harper, a man whose fateful decision to explore these woods changed his life forever and left him with chilling questions that remain unanswered to this day. Martin Harper was a photographer, adventurous, creative, and always chasing the perfect shot. One October afternoon, he set out on a solo road trip to capture the autumn colors of Blackridge Woods. The forest had a reputation, of course. Locals spoke of strange sounds, missing hikers, and an eerie sensation that made your skin crawl. But Martin wasn't the superstitious type. He dismissed the warnings as small-town folklore meant to scare tourists. When he arrived at the forest, the sun was beginning to set. The golden light filtering through the trees was mesmerizing, exactly what he had hoped for. He parked his car near an old, overgrown trail, grabbed his camera, and ventured into the woods. The air was still, the kind of stillness that makes you feel like you're being watched. At first, Martin brushed it off, focusing on the vibrant reds and oranges of the leaves. But as he ventured deeper, the silence became oppressive. No birds sang, no leaves rustled. It was as if the forest itself was holding its breath. An hour into his walk, Martin stumbled upon something unexpected, a clearing in the woods with a single stone archway standing in the center. The structure was ancient, covered in moss and vines, and completely out of place. It looked like it had been pulled from another time, another world. Intrigued, Martin began to take pictures, adjusting his lens to capture the strange, haunting beauty of the scene. That's when he noticed something odd. Through the viewfinder, the clearing seemed darker than it appeared to the naked eye. Shadows clung to the archway, shifting unnaturally, almost as if they were alive. As Martin stepped closer, the air around him seemed to change. It grew colder, heavier, and carried a faint, low hum. He couldn't tell where the sound was coming from. It was everywhere and nowhere at once. Curiosity got the better of him, and he decided to step through the archway. The moment he did, everything changed. The world around him seemed to flicker, like an old film strip catching on a reel. The clearing plunged into darkness. Panic gripped him as he fumbled for his flashlight. When he turned it on, the beam revealed something that made his blood run cold. Shadows weren't just moving, they were alive. Dark, humanoid shapes emerged from the edges of the clearing, their forms flickering like smoke. They had no faces, no features, but Martin could feel their gaze on him. His instincts screamed at him to run, and he did, sprinting blindly into the forest. But the forest didn't seem the same anymore. The trail he had followed earlier was gone, replaced by gnarled trees and thick underbrush. It was as if the forest itself had shifted, trapping him in its grasp. Martin's breathing grew ragged as he pushed forward, the shadows always just behind him. He could feel their cold presence at his back, hear the faint whisper of something inhuman chasing him. Just when he thought he couldn't run any further, he saw a faint light in the distance. Summoning every ounce of strength, he sprinted toward it, breaking through the tree line and collapsing onto the ground. His car was there, headlights piercing through the darkness. He scrambled inside, locking the doors, and sat there trembling. It wasn't until he caught his breath that he noticed something strange. His camera, which had been hanging around his neck the entire time, was gone. In its place, clutched in his hand, was a single photograph. The image was of the stone archway, but it was burned and distorted, and in the shadows of the photo, he could make out the faint outlines of the figures that had chased him. Martin never returned to Blackridge Woods. To this day, he refuses to speak about what happened that night. The photograph remains locked away, a grim reminder of his encounter. Some say the archway vanished, swallowed by the forest. Others believe it was never really there at all. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain. Blackridge Woods is no ordinary forest, and those who enter may find themselves facing something far beyond their understanding. Would you take the risk?